Greetings class. In this video I'm going to give you a quick overview of the job description rubric slash grade codes. So your job description is worth 60 points, and what I provided you on Moodle is this document that provides you with codes that you'll find associated with your grade. So the way to look at this, in parentheses is a code, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so forth. And then over here are the number of points that, if you see that code, that were taken off of your total grade of 60. So you start with 60 points, and as I work through grading, I take points off for the items that you see on this list. So I try to give you some description of why so you can understand it. And the whole point here is what you should be doing as you work through your job description or writing it up is you should be looking at this and checking out your job description to see how it matches up with these grade codes. So you are just as able as I am to go and look at your job description and take a look at these codes and explanations to see whether or not yours fits it, or whether you may end up losing some points. So pretty self-explanatory. Make sure that your summary isn't too long. It should be pretty short, typically 1 to 3 sentences, depending on how complex the job is. Some people will make the error of writing the job summary as a recruiting ad instead of a job summary. If you find yourself wanting to write in the summary, you will be responsible for this, that, or the other thing, or the ideal candidate will have these capabilities. That's not a job summary. You're writing a recruiting ad, and that's not what your assignment is. Make sure you have enough tasks listed. Pretty simple manual job typically has 15 to 20 tasks. I expect that any job that you have approved by me is going to have that range. You don't need to go beyond 20, but I do expect you to dig in and attempt to do a fairly decent analysis and then subsequent description of the job. Be careful about writing your tasks in too detailed of a manner. In some cases, students will reflect on their instructional design course and end up writing task instructions rather than tasks themselves. A good rule of thumb is to, or a good way to, to look at it is to go to ONET and see how they have structured their sentences to describe specific tasks. Each one of them on ONET will start with a verb and then build from there. And it will always include the tools or the resources that are typically used. Also make sure that you're not putting competencies or KSAOs into the task section. If you are writing something with able to or skilled at, that's not a task. That is something about the person that belongs in the competencies area. Next one, number 5 there, some tasks are not tasks, or incomplete. Again, this is similar to the one above. Each task should answer what, why, and how is done. And in some cases I'll see tasks that are as short as 3 words. That's not a task. I'm not sure what it is. Number 6, make sure that your competencies are competencies or knowledge, skills, abilities, and other characteristics. I use those interchangeably in this class. Some of you will end up putting tasks in that area, and that's not correct. Make sure you don't have too many competencies. You should have more tasks than competencies. If you have 15 to 20 tasks, I would expect no more than 10 to 12 competencies. On the flip side, don't have too few competencies. If you have 3 or 4, that's probably not enough. Make sure you follow directions. Number 9, take a look at the examples I give you and the instructions to make sure you're reviewing again. This is kind of a catch-all code for some of the crazy things that students end up submitting. Number 10, make sure minimum requirements are listed and that they only include education, experience, certifications, licensing, or similar. If you list communication skills or working with people or anything like that, that's not a minimum requirement. Minimum requirements are things that you could verify, such as I graduated from an HRD program at Oakland University, and here's my transcript to prove it. I have a license to practice law in the state of Michigan, and here is my license to prove it. I have 5 years of experience working as a cashier at a bank, and here is a reference that you can call to confirm it. These are quickly verifiable minimums that must be true. All KSAOs or competencies on top of that are simply build on that. And finally, the last one, your job description isn't proofed. I want you to think about this as you're turning an assignment to your boss. And so, I grade it as though you're working for me. And if you turn in something that is not professional looking, it's not proofed, is not laid out nicely, so forth and so on, I certainly wouldn't be very happy and as your boss. And so therefore I will be taking points off for anything that's turned in that's not proofed. So use this as a guide in addition to the instructions and the examples to help you put together a dynamite job description.